Have you ever stopped to think about the invisible forces that shape what you believe? Well, today we're diving deep into that very story. It's a journey about influence, one that stretches all the way from the birth of public relations to the algorithms that are, right now, curating the very screen you're looking at.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start at the very beginning, with the birth of public relations. Then we'll see how those early ideas got supercharged into tools for mass persuasion. From there, we'll leap into the modern digital battlefield, expose a really sneaky practice called astroturfing, and then wrap things up with the one thing we all seem to be searching for these days: authenticity.
So, let's hop in the time machine and go back to the early 20th century. Industries are booming, things are changing fast, and this new profession pops up to manage the relationship between huge organizations and the public. At least, that was the official story.
Now, if you look up the official definition, this is what you'll find. And on paper, it sounds pretty good, right? It's all about strategic conversations, building trust, making sure everyone benefits. The ideal is a respectful dialogue, not a monologue designed for control. But as you can probably guess, that ideal was about to get a serious reality check. See, one of the founding fathers of PR, a guy named Edward Bernays, had a totally different vision. And here's a fun fact. He was Sigmund Freud's nephew. So he wasn't just interested in starting a conversation. He was fascinated by the deep, unconscious stuff that makes us tick. And he was convinced he could harness it to shape public opinion on a massive scale.
And his Torches of Freedom campaign is the perfect kind of mind-blowing example of his method. He didn't just sell a product, he sold an idea. By brilliantly linking cigarettes to the women's suffrage movement, basically framing smoking as an act of rebellion and power, he completely shattered a social taboo. The result? A huge new market for tobacco companies. It was a total masterstroke of psychological marketing.
But, Bernays wasn't operating in a vacuum. His techniques were part of a much bigger trend. All through the 20th century, the tools for shaping our minds were being sharpened and perfected, everywhere from the battlefield to the shopping aisle. During World War I, for example, governments got really good at using mass propaganda to whip up nationalistic fever. Then, in peacetime, advertising giants like David Ogilvy turned persuasion into a science. They started pulling in psychological models to figure out, and let's be honest, shape what we buy and why we buy it.
One of the biggest ideas they grabbed from psychology was the Pavlovian model. Think about it. Why does hearing a certain jingle instantly make you crave a soda? Or why does seeing a specific logo give you a warm, fuzzy feeling of trust? It's all about repetition, repetition, repetition. Advertisers hammer that connection into our brains until we're conditioned to have a specific response to their brand. And then there's the even more direct, kind of brutally simple black box model. This approach basically says, look, the consumer's mind is a total mystery, a black box. We don't need to know why it works. All you need to do is control the inputs, the price, the promotion, the placement, and measure the output. The job is just to keep tweaking those inputs until you get the one thing you want, a sale. Okay, so let's hit the fast forward button to today. Because if the 20th century built the tools of influence, the 21st century strapped a giant rocket to them in the form of the internet and AI. Social media just completely shattered the old playbook. All of a sudden, communication wasn't a one-way street anymore. It was this chaotic, global, real-time conversation. Now, this gave brands an incredible, direct line to their audience, but it also came with huge risks, because one little slip-up could go viral in a matter of minutes. And the engine driving this whole new reality? It's artificial intelligence. Every single time you open Netflix or scroll through Facebook or search for something on Google, these incredibly powerful algorithms are curating what you see. And they're not neutral. They're designed with one single goal: to figure out what grabs your attention and then feed you more and more of it to keep you hooked. This incredible power to amplify messages also created a brand new problem. It's never been easier to fake a crowd, and the scale of this deception is absolutely staggering, especially when it comes to something we all rely on: online reviews. Just let that sink in for a second. According to the experts, up to 1/3, 1 out of every 3 of all the consumer reviews you read online could be completely fake. Which leads to the obvious question, right? If they're not from real customers, who in the world is writing them? Well, the answer is a practice called astroturfing. It gets its name from that brand of artificial grass, because that's exactly what it is. creating a fake grassroots movement that looks 100% real. It's all about manufacturing the appearance of public support while hiding the corporate or political puppeteer who's really pulling the strings.
And this stuff is everywhere. It's in those fake 5-star reviews for a new gadget, and it's in the fake 1-star reviews trying to tank its competitor. It's that army of social media bots that suddenly makes a political idea seem way more popular than it actually is. And it's those corporate front groups that are disguised to look like regular citizen movements, all to push a specific agenda.
So, faced with this landscape of constant persuasion and, let's face it, potential manipulation, it's really no surprise that we've all become a little more skeptical. And in response to that, a really powerful counter-movement has started to emerge, and it's all built around transparency and trust. This new focus on being real creates this clear dividing line. On one side, you have ethical marketing, which is about being genuinely transparent and actually living your company's values. But on the other side, you've got the cynical copycat, things like greenwashing, where a company just slaps on an eco-friendly costume to look good without making any real change. It's basically trying to market authenticity itself. And lucky for us, consumers are getting way better at spotting the fakes. This whole new philosophy really boils down to a powerful truth for our skeptical times. When nobody trusts traditional ads anymore, your most valuable marketing asset isn't a clever slogan. It's a genuinely happy customer. They become your most credible and powerful advocate. And Patagonia's famous "Don't Buy This Jacket" campaign is the perfect case study. Think about it. On Black Friday, the absolute peak of consumer chaos, they ran an ad telling people not to buy their stuff. This completely counterintuitive move was perfectly in line with their environmentalist values. And the result? It generated a massive amount of goodwill and solidified a fiercely loyal customer base that absolutely trusts the brand.
So, we've really come full circle, haven't we? From Edward Bernays using psychology to sell an idea, to algorithms personalizing our reality, all the way to brands trying to win back our trust with radical honesty. The technology and the tactics have changed like crazy, but that core tension, that fine line between persuasion and manipulation, is as relevant today as it's ever been.
Which leaves us with a final and pretty critical question for all of us. In a world of engineered perception, where these powerful forces are constantly trying to shape what we think, what we feel, and what we do, how do you find what's